The following program was recorded at the 2018 National Medicare and Senior Insurance Product Sales Summit held June 12th in St. Louis, Missouri. To access other videos recorded at association conferences, go to www.medicaresupp.org/library. The American Association for Medicare Supplement Insurance maintains the nation's #1 online lookup for consumers searching for local Medigap agents. For details on getting listed, visit the association's website. Now, enjoy the program.
Good morning, everyone. Not only am I the hostess of the room today, I also get the privilege of speaking to you this morning kind of about the new long-term care conversation. And boy, has it changed. It's kind of gravitated itself all the way from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other. And I should probably stop and give myself a proper introduction. I always assume everybody just knows who I am. Angie Hughes, I'm with Producers XL. We also are exhibiting upstairs. And I mainly spend my time talking about long-term care insurance. And you may say, well, that's great, Angie, but I think you're at the wrong conference. This is a Medicare supplement conference. But we all know long-term care insurance most definitely ties in. We used to actually say around Medicare supplements, how do you pivot that conversation into long-term care? And what we would say is, well, you should ask your clients, do they want to have a conversation about the rest of their coverage? Meaning, what happens when Medicare no longer pays the bill? Because typically that means you're chronically ill, which typically means they're not going to pay. And I've been hearing everybody talk about the statistics, and on average, Medicare pays about 25 days of skilled care, and then once you become chronically ill, custodial, Medicare no longer pays for that bill. But what's interesting, are we seeing our issue ages in long-term care insurance going up, or they're really more coming down? So our average issue age sits in the 50s now, so we're not really selling long-term care insurance to folks that are 65 and older. I'm not saying we're not, but we're seeing that issue age come down. Well, now we've got lots of solutions. So we have traditional long-term care insurance, we have asset-based long-term care planning, we have linked benefits, which is very similar to asset-based or hybrids. And then we also have self-insuring, we have annuities, we have short-term care. We just have so many different options out there. And I will tell you what becomes really interesting is my life today consists of that phone call that says, hey, Angie, I got a guy. Which means we want to talk about long-term care insurance. What do you suggest? Oh, my goodness, right? We're all over the board, from long-term care to asset to life to annuities to self-insuring that risk. How do you break all of that down? And I'm not, all kidding aside, I thought to myself, this 30-minute presentation, that's about how long it takes me. You know, I spend more time on the phone going through all of the different solutions, because when you're looking at traditional long-term care, you've got all of those carriers that are out there, although it being kind of a dwindling carrier base that we have out there. You've got assets and life insurance base now, which has opened a lot of wonderful doors for us. But how do you take all these different options and compare them fairly to one another? I would suggest you can't. There's just too many nuances between them. So, right, we end up with this giant fruit basket, an apple, an orange, a pear, a peach, and a strawberry, and how do you compare them adequately to one another? I don't try to do that. I try to tell people that there's a lot of different ways that we can solve the need. A lot of it comes from, and I know you guys have heard all of this before, but a lot of it comes from understanding what your client wants. And I'm hoping in this 30-minute segment that I can let you walk away from here and say, wow, she just took a plethora of products and carriers and solutions and knocked it down into 3 solutions. And how do you quickly and readily come to that conclusion with your consumer when you all of a sudden broach the conversation? I would first tell you, first and foremost, start bringing up the conversation for long-term care planning. And if you want to start that conversation with your Medicare supplement sale, that's fantastic. If you want to start that conversation earlier, it's probably better, because what do we have a tendency to run into when we're talking about long-term care sales? It's the underwriting, right? It's a very fully underwritten product. A lot of us think that if we go to the life insurance solutions, it's going to maybe be a little easier. Nope, it's not. They may be streamlined, but it's not necessarily an easier process. So there's pros and cons to each one of these, right? going from one end of the spectrum to the other. Self-insuring, of course, is the least out of pocket up front. They're not paying a premium, but we all understand when you self-insure and you don't have the assets to cover that, what happens when you do have to pay for your care? You're going to deplete down that portfolio. I think it's time that we get very real about what Medicaid looks like and what you truly have to spend down. There is a cost associated with that, and your consumers need to know that. If you go back to traditional long-term care insurance, I would be the first most excitable person to stand up here and tell you that that space is not dead. It's not dying. We're actually starting to see an uptick in that space. And I tell a lot of my advisors that I work with, you're never going to get...
If you'd like to watch the rest of this program, as well as benefit from watching all sessions recorded at the 2018 National Medicare and Senior Insurance Sales Summit, go to www.medicaresupp.org/sell more for access information.